All right, so my name is Martin Guenzl. I'm going to be talking about the safety journey that Boral went on with regards to using artificial intelligence, or AI for short. Before I begin, it's not going to be an AI 101 class, but I just wanted to get a show of hands. Who actually knows about or has heard about artificial intelligence, AI, the concept? Okay, show of hands, who has lifted the bonnet up and knows how it actually works? Few people, yeah. So, like a lot of people, I understand it's a tool. Not too worried about what happens under the hood, but maybe curious. Although not part of the talk, I just thought I'd give you a quick primer. So artificial intelligence is like, think of it as a black box that has digital signals, information coming in, and it makes the decisions to identify, detect, make a decision, whatever it is. And you can train that black box by example, give it examples, and then it can learn how to make those decisions. Accuracy is one of the key metrics. How accurate it is. Does it give a true positive and true negative? That is, yes, that was either a person or a cup or a car or whatever it is it's trying to detect, or no, it wasn't. And you want to eliminate false positives and false negatives. So hopefully we all know what false positives and false negatives are. I asked my operations manager what they talked about. So how do you talk about this training? What does it really mean in the AI? And they said, well, it's like basically training toddlers. So you do it by example. This is a cup. This is a person, and so on. So when you're listening to this talk, just think of it as a bunch of toddlers managing and saving the lives of a bunch of grown-ups, right? So if that's not a scary thought for all of you, just stand by. So here we are. Right, let's see if we can get this to work. Right, so the key takeaway is learning is part of an AI journey, and I'm not just talking about training and learning from the AI perspective, it's everything else around it. So, full disclosure, I worked for Boral on this AI-based venture for a little under 2 years, and recently have been assisting Strata, who are the new owner of the technology. These are my insights, opinions and views, peppered with some previously disclosed facts, so I'm respecting the confidentiality of the companies and people involved. However, I do want to offer you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain that was Boral's long journey to behavioural safety outcomes. So this talk will centre around 5 key areas, trying to answer the questions shown here. I also want to provide you all with some key learnings that I witnessed in my part on this safety journey, and you'll see them in the slides as those sort of red box with the person with the light globe in their head as well during the course of that. And I want to kind of bring that to life, which is, yeah, it's a tool, but what do we learn about using the tool? What's the so what for the business? So now to the context. Why did Boral start this journey at all? So as background for those who are not familiar, Boral is a construction materials supplier, supplying materials like concrete, cement, aggregates and asphalt. And despite being serious and diligent about zero harm, Boral was confronted in 2017 with a tragic incident at its Alexandria concrete plant. A Caltex fuel tanker driver was struck by a concrete agitator truck that ultimately led to his death. 2 facts that might challenge your assumptions, as they did mine when I heard about it, was 1, that the driver was a regular visitor to that plant. He was no stranger to the plant. And the second is that the plant was far less busy than usual on that day of the incident. So it wasn't a stranger and it wasn't very busy. So shortly afterwards, Boral committed themselves to a mix of both traditional and innovative methods to target the significant reduction of risk relating to pedestrian vehicle interactions at their operating sites. So this is around reducing the risk of the pedestrian vehicle interactions. That's what I'm going to focus on today, talking to you a little bit more in detail. The primary innovative method that they use, over and above the traditional methods, was to explore the use of AI. So this is a summary of the AI innovation journey Boral has been on since that tragic incident. The journey culminated in the sale of the AI solution technology venture to Strata 2 months ago. Boral continues to use the devices they co-developed and deployed. This 5-year journey has been filled with plenty of lessons learned, some of which I will share with you today. Of note, Boral chose to innovate a solution having scanned the market and found no pre-existing solution for their use case at the time. During the journey, Boral also pivoted to bring in a tech partner to the venture to take on the tech capability that required for the next level. So let's explore a bit more about the solution to begin with. The most visible are the field devices, the fixed AI device and the soon-to-be deployed mobile AI device. Then there's also the cloud-based platform, seen on the left, which has become one of the key enablers of the behavioural outcomes, as you'll hear through this talk. So focusing on the fixed AI device first, we're at generation 3 already. 26 of these devices have been deployed, with some of them about to celebrate their second birthday in the field. These devices incorporate improvements learned from prototyping earlier versions, including real-time AI at the edge, so the decision is being made in the box, easy to install and improved AI accuracy. So the first key learning I want to share with you all today is how to balance the trade-off inherent in chasing accuracy. False positives, that is, it says there's an unsafe condition when there isn't, those are annoying to users, but false negatives, not picking up a risky incident, are the ones that really keep leaders up at night. And I remember when I first joined leading this venture, I said to the team, there are 2 things I'm worried about. One is that tragically we're going to hear about an incident at one of the sites that we've got one of the devices. This is a thought experiment we want to do ahead of time. And we hear about this incident and it's in one of the zones that we're watching. How could it have happened? And the second one was same thing, but not in the area that we were watching. So it was a case of we have to make the technology work for that area, but we also have to work with the site to make sure that they're covering the most important risks as well. So back to this fixed AI solution and the accuracy. So every time the AI model is trained for better accuracy, that trade-off risk raises its head again. Have we introduced false positives? Have we introduced false negatives? What's the balance of them all? And then you might be thinking, well, it's pretty easy to find out how many false positives you're getting. How the hell do you find out how many false negatives you're getting? After all, if you didn't detect them, how would you know? Yeah? So that's a real challenge as well, and we had to work hard to work out ways of which we could, if you like, cross-verify that we weren't having false negatives. So here's how an alert would make its way through the system. So when a person on foot is detected, and you can see this is a real image from the device of a person who has entered an exclusion zone marked by that red boundary. So when a person on foot, a pedestrian, is detected, it immediately sets off a siren and strobe at the location. But that's just the start. Next, an email is sent to the site leader prompting them to engage with the platform application to review the image and classify the alert. Was it a risk or was it not? Finally, the incident information is fed into reporting and safety management systems for performance monitoring and follow-up. The key learning here is just how much engagement happens after the siren is sounded, and just how much that this post-siren engagement matters. I'd like you to hold on to that thought. We'll be back to it shortly. As we started to deploy these fixed devices, we soon realised that the same device was being employed in 3 different ways. One, on the left, just as a simple pedestrian exclusion zone. 2, in the middle, to protect a specific blind spot area. And I don't know if you can see, I'll just very quickly point out, that yellow and green is representing a truck that is pulled up, and this one here is one that's reversing down this alleyway. What we want is we want the driver not to walk to the back of the vehicle and go into the blind spot of the reversing truck. We want that driver, if they wanted to go around to the back of the truck, they should go around the front and come around the protected side. And so we put this area here in to say, thou shalt not pass on this side. And therefore, reversing trucks know that their blind spot is clear. And the third one on the right is as a digital gate to separate wanted pedestrians from operating activities. Site managers knew their risks, and so it was a collaborative approach in deciding how best to deploy the tool. Moving on to the mobile AI device, we held some trials recently out on some road jobs in Melbourne where we hooked up the AI detection to Strata's existing collision avoidance systems. We successfully demonstrated autonomous crawl and stop based on a tagless system, protecting any pedestrian that encroached behind a reversing skid steer. It was good to see this proof of technology. What was even more pleasing to see, and I must admit, from the outset, I did not expect it to happen this quickly, was proof of outcome. There was behavioural change. After only a few days, the road crew were able to find a way to work without being behind the skid steer anymore. And part of that, I think, was the drivers were getting really, really annoyed every time someone walked behind, it would come to a stop. So they did a lot of the hard work for us. And as I showed before, there are three elements, the two fixed devices and the platform. So now the final part of the solution involves that cloud-based platform, accessible anywhere through a PC, tablet or smartphone. Through the wonders of 4G and soon to be 5G, field-based information and images are transmitted back to base and aggregated into the platform. The platform application is a mechanism for site leaders to engage with the solution and play their part in the alert workflow. Additionally, reporting and analytics provide the enterprise with visibility on performance. So let's explore that a bit more. So through trial and error, user feedback and some design thinking, we developed a suite of reporting and analytics. This was delivered on a weekly, monthly and quarterly basis, with users also able to delve deeper via a business intelligence analytics tool. Now the entire enterprise could see the performance of each plant over time using objective KPIs as well as images. In fact, the EGM was known to ring up a plant and question what was going on based on this info. So this visibility and accountability provided a huge impetus to performance improvement. However, we didn't want to just deliver sticks. Carrots are critical to affect change. So we worked hard to give site leaders the support they needed. For example, we would provide each site, if relevant, with relevant suggestions to help them improve that site. We gave them training if needed, or extra training if required, and we also shared best practice across the sites. So here's a visual that strikingly shows how much behaviours can change. These scatter plots show pedestrian activity. Each green dot represents a person detected in the field of view, and the plot is aggregated over a time period. So the column on the left represents 1 week, and it represents the week before we went live. So it's kind of the before situation. We did not have the alerts, the sirens and the strobes on. It was just in passive monitoring mode. The columns to the right show a full month's worth of aggregated activity, if you like, in the after solution over some time. And you can see for the side at the top, and I'll try and show you, there's that little area there. See that area there? So that's on the incorrect side of the crash barrier. That they should be walking along here, and that's the crash barrier. Here is this, so this in the pre-live, just in 7 days, it was accumulated that much. And as time went on, you can see that that clump of people that were coming this side, starting to come this side, effectively disappears. People started to change their behaviour and only use the walkway. The key learning is that with any tool, it can be used for good or ill, or more commonly, not used to its full potential, whether unintentionally or not. We found that performance improved when we added in some quality monitoring of the use of their tool. or as I call it, watching the watchers. And that's because we were asking the site leaders to engage, to put their opinion in. Was it a risky activity or not? But we needed to watch that and also see what behaviours were happening through the images. And we would call them out if we had to as well. Like I said, it was a bit of a stick, but we needed the carrot as well, so we would work with them to try and improve things. So, how do we go? What outcomes did we get? So we measured objective KPIs as soon as we could because the focus had to be on safety outcomes, not on technology. So here you can see in orange, where are we? Sorry. That one. A better than 5 times reduction in total alerts over time, and in the red, a better than 10 times reduction in those classified as risky incursions. There were 2 drivers of this improvement: building out the solution and surfing the adoption curve wave. As usual, the safety champions got early results, even when the solution hadn't been fully fleshed out. The key learning was to identify what the champions were doing and spread these good practices to the rest of the group. With that support, combined with the performance monitoring nudge, the main body of site leaders got on board, followed eventually by the late adopters who had nowhere to hide. So Anthony this morning spoke about the hierarchy of controls. Put this slide up, and I want to point out here where the AI-based detection and collision avoidance fits in here. So what I think we're seeing is an engineering control that actually also has an effect of isolating people from the hazard. This is especially the case for the mobile AI device when connected to the collision avoidance system. It's also worth noting that the behavioural outcomes show these solutions change the way people work. A lot of deep experience was gathered developing out the product early on. First, the focus was on the hardware, then followed up with efforts to deliver quality software, support and services. Every site, every use case is different. As well, there is a continuous improvement journey, so service plays a significant role. Which brings me to arguably the biggest challenge to date. How do you scale service? As a safety technology, we cannot afford to have a drop-off in quality and outcomes as the number of customers and deployed devices increase. We've had to work hard and smart on this, but it's a bit like painting the Sydney Harbour Bridge. The to-do list is endless. So from early on, Boral realised they weren't the best long-term owner for the solution. After all, they're set up to sell construction materials. So I've worked in businesses from 2-person garage startups all the way up to large corporates like Boral. I can tell you it's incredible the difference and the contrast of the culture and approach between the small end of town and the big end of town. And it does have a material impact on sustaining the venture. Fortunately, Boral had the awareness to see this early. So last year, Boral began to search for the right owner of the venture so they could continue as a customer only. At the same time, Strata was showing interest in Vision AI solutions as a key jigsaw piece to add to their portfolio. The question for Strata was whether to fully own and develop the technology or select, specify, license and bundle upstream technologies. I suspect what tipped it towards the ownership model was the uniqueness of the Boral solution. Here was a customer-backed innovation solution that had proven technology and proven outcomes. So here we are, a story where Boral begins a challenging innovation journey in a different era, born of a tragic incident, one that culminates in a fully operational technology they've now outsourced. And all the while, it achieved a significant reduction in relevant risks. A credit in my mind goes to 3 groups of people. So the Boral's innovation team and its tech partners. Secondly, the site leaders, most importantly, who took accountability and stepped up. And thirdly, Strata, who gave it the thumbs up for investing in growth. So, finally, to wrap up, here's the key list, or the list of key learnings again. If I could sum up my experiences and reflections to you, it'd be this. AI is a useful, emergent tool that can make a contribution to improve safety outcomes. I've had the benefit of many years of experience in digital innovation in industrial settings, and it is my view that the timing is now right for those passionate about zero harm to embrace AI as a tool. I would not have said that a few years ago, but I believe its time is ready now. That said, it is not a silver bullet. It's a component of a wider solution alongside other tools, operational support, continuous improvement, and user-backed experience. As with any emergent technology, if I was in your position, be prepared to find the right provider who has two key ingredients. One, the capability and willingness to work with you to tailor the solution to your specific use case, and there are many use cases. And secondly, a focus on your outcome, not an obsession with the technology. Thank you.